Ever feel like your conversations just go in circles? Like you're stuck in a loop, having the same arguments or discussions over and over again? What if I told you these aren't just random interactions, but carefully scripted, unconscious games we play every single day? This is the fascinating idea behind Games People Play, a groundbreaking book by psychiatrist Eric Berne. He proposed that most of our social lives are structured like games. These aren't fun, playground games. They're psychological games with hidden rules, secret motives, and predictable outcomes. We play them to get something called strokes, which is just a term for recognition or attention, and often to avoid genuine, scary, vulnerable intimacy. So, what are these games, and are you playing them without even realizing it? Let's dive in and find out. Let's start with some heavy hitters Berne calls life games. These are patterns that can define a person's entire life path. Take the game Alcoholic. Now, this isn't just about the act of drinking. The game itself involves a cast of characters. The alcoholic isn't just seeking a drink. They're subconsciously seeking a persecutor, someone to scold them, a rescuer, someone to save them, and a patsy, someone who enables them. The real payoff isn't the drink itself, but the intense drama and attention that follows, culminating in the hangover, which is a morning of self-pity and blame. It is a self-perpetuating cycle where the player gets to feel like a victim and avoid taking real responsibility. Another common life game is to see what you made me do. Have you ever been deep in concentration? Someone interrupts you. You make a mistake, and then you angrily blame them? That's the game. The player is often someone who fears making mistakes. By getting angry at the interrupter, they shift the blame. The hidden payoff is that they can say, "It's not my fault. It's yours." It's a convenient way to avoid facing their own fallibility. They secretly welcome the interruption because it gives them an excuse if things go wrong. Now, let's move into the home with marital games. These are the games couples play, often for years, that create friction and prevent real connection. A classic one is If It Weren't For You. In this game, one partner constantly complains that they're held back from doing something amazing by the other. If it weren't for you, I would have been a famous artist. Or if it weren't for you, we'd be living in another country. The truth is, the person playing this game is usually terrified of actually pursuing that dream. Their partner becomes a convenient excuse, a shield against their own fear of failure. If their partner ever said, "Okay, go for it," the game player would be thrown into a panic. Then there's Courtroom. This happens when a couple can't resolve a conflict on their own. Instead of talking to each other, they seek out a third party, a friend, a therapist, or even their kids, to act as a judge. They present their cases, each trying to prove the other is wrong. They're not looking for a solution, they're looking for vindication. They want someone to declare them the winner. The problem is, this turns the relationship into a legal battle instead of a partnership, and someone always ends up feeling like the loser. True resolution never happens because the goal isn't understanding, it's winning. What about social gatherings? Oh yes, there are plenty of party games. You've definitely seen Why Don't You? Yes, but here's how it works. Someone presents a problem. I just can't seem to find a good job. The other people at the party, wanting to be helpful, start offering solutions. Why don't you update your resume? Why don't you try networking? The first person's response to every single suggestion is, "Yes, but," followed by a reason why it won't work. The hidden goal isn't to solve the problem. It's to reject all help, proving that their problem is uniquely unsolvable. The secret satisfaction comes from stumping the helpers and remaining comfortably in their victim role. Another hugely popular party game is Ain't It Awful? This is where a group of people get together and bond over complaining. It could be about the government, the younger generation, rising prices, anything. They all nod in agreement, sharing stories of how terrible things are. This game creates a sense of camaraderie, but it's a negative one. It's a way to get strokes and feel connected to others, but it's based on shared misery rather than shared joy or constructive action. It feels good in the moment, but it just reinforces a cynical, powerless worldview. Berne also identified what he called sexual games. These are not about the act of sex itself, but about the psychological maneuvering that happens around it. A classic example is Rappo. In this game, a player leads someone on, flirts heavily, and gives all the signals of being interested. But when the other person makes a move, the player acts shocked and offended, rebuffing them. The payoff isn't physical intimacy, it's the power trip. The player gets to prove their desirability and then gets a second satisfaction from righteously rejecting the other person, labeling them as a creep. It's a cruel game of manipulation that leaves the other person confused and hurt. Then there's the dramatic game. Let's you and him fight. Typically, a woman sets up a situation where two men are forced to compete for her attention. She might flirt with one in front of the other or tell each one conflicting stories. Her secret enjoyment comes from watching them vie for her. She gets to feel like a valuable prize to be won. The game isn't about choosing a partner. It's about creating a conflict where she is the center of all the action and attention. The men in this scenario are just pawns in her psychological game of validation. So, after hearing all this, you might be feeling a little paranoid, looking back at all your conversations. But here's the good news. The whole point of identifying these games is not to feel bad, but to become aware. Awareness is the first step to freedom. Once you can see the game for what it is, you can choose not to play. When someone tries to start a game of "why don't you?" "Yes, but," instead of offering solutions, you can say something like, "That sounds really tough. I trust you'll figure out what's best for you." You refuse to play the role of the rescuer they're looking for. When you find yourself in a courtroom game with your partner, you can stop and say, "Wait, this isn't about winning. Let's talk about how we both feel," without needing a judge. The alternative to game playing is what Byrne calls autonomy. This means living with awareness, spontaneity, and a capacity for genuine intimacy. It's about dropping the scripts and having real, honest, game-free interactions. It's scary because it's vulnerable. There are no hidden rules to protect you. But it's also where true connection happens. It's where you can be seen for who you really are and see others for who they are, not just as players in your game. So the next time you feel yourself slipping into an old, familiar pattern of conversation, ask yourself, what game am I playing right now? And what am I really trying to get? Choosing to step out of the game might be one of the most powerful things you can do for your relationships and your own mental well-being. It's the path to more authentic connections and a more authentic you. Thanks so much for watching. If this made you think, let me know in the comments which game you've seen the most in your own life. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology of our daily lives. See you next time.